Hi.
What's up, y'all?
What is up? We're getting down to the end of the wire here for
Oh my God.
2025. That's a wrap. Let's call it.
Mariah is in full effect.
It is fully time.
Yeah, it's Christmas. So okay, things that are happening in and around this for us. Wait, we should talk about
nothing.
No, we're going to be taking some time off for us in the new year. So if you guys are listening to this like in real time in December of 2025,
you better soak it up.
Soak it up, because we're going to take a breather for ourselves in January, and we'll have new episodes back at you in February. But this is, unless you're on our Patreon, you're not going to hear from us in January. So you'll have a little bit of a breather as we get into our New Year's in January. And yeah.
So yeah, we're doing a little bit of spruce up, a little switcheroo.
Some new stuff coming in the new year, and we'll tell you more later
once we figure it out. Mm-hmm.
And then related to podcast, you guys could do something super awesome as a gift for us. It's a Christmas gift.
Yeah, it costs you nothing.
If you want to give us a free Christmas gift, we would love your ratings and reviews on whatever podcast platform you'd love to listen to us on. Each podcast platform has you submit reviews differently. So Google is your friend if you are unfamiliar with your app that you listen on. But a rating really helps. A review really helps.
Yeah, because of right now, it's been like we haven't gotten any in a little bit, like a couple months. And it's kind of sad.
We joke that every time we talk about it is when everyone does it. So now you guys are just reinforcing, yep, we just got to talk about it more. But okay, the reviews help us for a number of reasons. But number one, reviews help us understand what you guys like and what you don't like. But it also helps other designers find the show in the way that, like, if you think your TikTok is always listening to you, reviews on podcasts help tell the podcast app what other shows you might like and other topics you might like. And that's how a lot of designers discover us is, oh yeah, my app gave me this recommendation because I listened to another show or it was similar to this. And so every time you write and review and share something, one, yes, it definitely reinforces it for us. We love you guys and thank you for telling us that we're helpful for you if we are. But it also helps other designers learn. So you're really giving a gift to another designer.
Oh, that's the spin. And, we're just humans who we want the little treat nugget to come out of the chute.
What?
Like when you're like a rat in a cage, like a little.
Oh, like when you
do something good.
If you put your paw on the little trigger, then a little kibble pops out for you. Yeah, and so for me, we keep tapping the little kibble dispenser, but there's no kibbles behind
coming
it.
out.
The reviews are. I know they're. So
we're gonna stop tapping. Is the problem?
Let's stop tapping the review thing, but it's something that helps the show, and in a sense of like we know what you like, what you don't like, and we love hearing from you. But it does make it really great for other designers to find it.
It's true, and we know that the Apple Podcast review thing is confusing. So we've said it before, we'll say it again. Go to the homepage of podcasts.apple, or you do it on your phone. Don't go into an episode. You got to back out to be like on our home screen where you see all of the different episodes. And if you scroll down like longer than you think you should, then you'll see the spot to add reviews.
Yes. And it is, we get it.
And it's easy.
But we also get, I will say this, as much as we would also love you to give like the rating and write a review, we get it. It's the same reason why like if a game app on my phone, Tetris, is like, do you want to write a review in the App Store? And I'm like, ew, but no, but I'll give you the stars, but I don't want to write a review for you in the Apple Store.
Fine.
We totally get it, y'all.
We'll take the 5 stars.
Just pop in the review for us or pop in the ratings. That's fine, but we love to hear from you. And thinking back to this episode you're about to hear with Renee, Renee has really had an amazing career in design and an expansive work history that has really showed her a lot about what's involved in our industry. And she's an advocate for designers to like truly get paid for the work that we do and our expertise. And so she talks about working in construction.
But very construction focused, which I think if you're like me as a designer who like has construction pause, like it's not always my favorite part of it. Yeah. Then it is like super helpful. And her podcast has a lot of really helpful tips and ways to build confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I got to meet her. You'll hear I got to meet her at Rick Campos's Design Biz Retreat. And that's the first time I met her.
Let them
Oh my God. I know. Okay. Spoiler alert, everybody. Okay. Let's just get into it. Everybody enjoy Renee's episode.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
We have a special guest today. We have Renée Biery from the podcast Only Girl on the Jobsite. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Rebecca and Shaun.
Thank you for coming on here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be on here. This is fun, especially since we now know each other in person.
I know. We were just starting to talk, and I made everybody stop talking, save it for the show. But we did get to meet at High Point in October and share a sofa together, which was really fun.
Yeah, and it's unusual, right? We normally talk virtually to people that we interview, and so it does make it more fun.
Even Shaun and I mostly are talking like this. So.
We're mostly internet friends, like half of our lives together. Yeah. And then
right?
Renee, you and I got to meet at Rick Campos Design Biz Retreat at the beginning of October, which then we just like couldn't shut up talking to each other at every little breakout and stuff. So that's kind of how I am.
But... It was fun. No, it was fun. Twice in 1 month. It was great.
Yeah.
It was a long month.
Yeah.
Gosh, it was. No kidding. And everyone's like, it's the holidays already. I'm like, no, please stop. But we're here now. It's going to be.
I mean, it is the holidays already, but.
It is the holidays.
I'm tired of the social posts that tell me how many days left. I'm like, stop shaming me.
I don't need a countdown.
Until Christmas. You know, be like, 9 weekends to go. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, my daughter, November 1st, she's like, changed all the music over. She's ready to decorate. And I'm like, girl, calm down. Like, we're not. By the time this airs, we are there. But as of November 1st, we were not. Well, tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you do kind of a lot as well. So tell us all the things.
Yeah, I'm in good company. The three of us are all crazy enough to still have, active client jobs as well.
Right.
Oh my God. Who told us that was a good idea?
I tell you. I don't know.
Credibility, schmedibility.
I mean, what is free time anyway, right? Yeah, so I'm an interior designer first and foremost, which right before we recorded, Rebecca's like, how do you want me to call you? And I do struggle with that, right? Is my identity is an interior designer, but obviously, I'm actually rolling. Well, by the time this airs, it will have been 5 years since I've been podcasting. So I guess I got to start calling myself that.
You're a podcaster for sure.
But it's funny. You think of yourself as, what you first, how it became. I wouldn't be podcasting if I wasn't an interior designer. But
right.
No, I'm an interior designer first and foremost. I always knew what I wanted to do. I begged my parents to go to design school out of high school, and they said, absolutely not. I'm not going to pay for an art degree, and you change your mind midstream. And so I saved off and went to college and had 4 years of fun, and then was able to go to grad school to New York School of Interior Design and have been doing what I do for the last 32 years. Love it. Love everything about it.
Have you always had your own business?
No, I stayed in New York and worked for about 10 years for other design firms and was really fortunate. New York School of Interior Design opens a lot of doors to a lot of either true alumni or honorary alumni as they are. And I worked in some really cool 100 firms and went out on my own in 2000. So I've been out on my own for 25 years.
Dang. Okay. Well, you know some things.
You've been through the ringer a few times at various sized firms, including your own.
I was there in the 90s in New York when money was flowing like water, and I was young. I had grown up in Delaware. I was like, holy crap, this is, I was meeting with, house managers. I'm like, what is that? What's a house manager?
What do they do?
What do they do?
Yeah.
Did you have to like scurry? Like I've heard there's all these like back passageways like that you have to scurry around as the help. Like you're not allowed to be seen.
We were really lucky. My last firm that I worked in, we didn't allow that. Like we come in through the front door.
That's nice.
We are
like
not
that
the
would
help.
actually have to be like a part of the handbook too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Like
part
would
of
you
the
say,
conversation.
they wouldn't be sending their like attorneys through their back doors either. So you're like, hold on a minute. Like we deserve that. Yeah.
Yes. And the woman I worked for, Barbara Halbin Ross, we mostly worked for her friend group. So I think that also helped. But no, there definitely were times where we were sent to the back elevators. Sometimes the doorman would do it not knowingly. Like, okay, you've got to go back there. I'm like, no, I don't actually, but thank you.
I will not. Yeah.
Plus, as I was a kid. I mean, I didn't feel it at the time, but I was like 27, 28, thinking, but yeah, no, it was incredible. I've seen probably some of the finest apartments in New York City, and we were so busy with work. I don't think we really had time to really focus on what we were doing. But I do look back now. I'm like, oh my God, was that real? And the answer is yes. Cool. And it was a fast decline after I left Manhattan in the 90s.
With economies.
With economies and the money was just insane in New York. It was, we were gold plating because we could, and it sounded like fun, and, that kind of.
And you have to have the network to like tap into that.
Yeah. And when you work for one of those big firms, you're exposed to things that just, it take decades of work to actually cultivate. So, and I just get to step in and be a senior designer on it. So yeah, it was incredible. It was a great experience, but we've always done construction. And so those were all construction projects as well. And they're much harder. I mean, you all live in bigger cities than I do, much harder in an apartment building when you can't move a waste stack, right? Like, I want the toilet on the other side of the house. And you're like, you can't do that because people above you and below you are going to have a big issue with that. So,
yeah. And then just navigating the buildings too.
Yes.
Like,
oh God,
all
getting
the rules
sofas into an elevator shaft. Like, when I first moved home, I was like, this is amazing. I got a trunk. I don't have to schlep everything, and I got a driveway.
My God.
No one's getting parking tickets all day long. Yeah, it's just a different experience.
Isn't that sort of something they in New York is just part of this is the cost of being a contractor. I'm going to get a ticket for double parking. Like I'm working that into the bids probably if I'm doing that. Like,
yeah, absolutely. You'd have to.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I'm also really good at sleuthing how to get things in, because we would have to hoist things, big things up the sides of buildings.
Oh,
that's actually come into play a few times with projects here. Everyone's like, it's not coming in, Renee. And I'm like, oh, want to bet? I'm like, let me figure it out. It's coming in.
Let me call my crane guy.
Yeah.
It's like those buildings in Amsterdam that they like built the windows so that they tilt out so they can get stuff in.
Exactly.
And they have like the winch hoist wenches are built into the architecture. I feel like that'd be a really cool table book of like all the different construction methods around the world. Like I was in Morocco a couple of months ago, and in the Medina, there's no cars allowed. So, and they had a huge earthquake a few years ago. So there's a lot of reconstruction, and seeing how they were bringing in even bringing a ladder in, like a guy on a scooter with the ladder around his neck, like one rung was around his neck, and then a guy behind him in another scooter with the other one. Like that's how they're carrying it through.
Can you imagine our guys if we told them that? They'd be like,
oh
what?
my God, donkey carts. Like they're trying to carry huge pieces of glass like through these. Oh my God, it was nuts. So I don't know. I was like, this is so fascinating how different it is in every almost city, I guess.
Yes.
Rebecca, pitch it to Rizzoli. It'll be beautiful.
I'll go to Morocco with you. Let's go do an on-site study.
I would definitely need a construction professional to help me dissect it all. That
totally
would be
agree.
Actually kind of a good hook. Okay, so you focus on construction mostly. Like it all starts from construction, right?
Typically. I mean, I still have decorating projects, but I prefer to do the construction. So normally in a given year, it's like 70% construction projects, maybe 30% decorating only. But all my construction projects end in decorating. There's this misnomer, like I have designers who are like, oh my gosh, I want to, I'd miss decorating. I'm like, why would you miss it? If you build it, you got to fill it.
Yeah. And that's like, you've just chosen to lead with like, hey, this is an important and valuable piece of my business. And when we were at Rick's retreat, you were talking about how like, this is an area where a lot of designers are either afraid or scared or, that gets left behind and they just pursue decorating only or too much focus on furnishing and then not remembering all these other components of our business. And I feel like when I look at a lot of designers I admire and I look at their projects that they're working on, they're doing both. And I feel like I don't want to get left out of that equation by being like, whether my skill set doesn't fill it or whatever, it's the work I admire also has architectural detail and focus and construction focus. So I want to also do that for myself.
It's not that I find that designers, obviously it varies per designer, but most are more intimidated than not wanting to do it. Like it's not an active, I don't want to do it. There are definitely some who are like, I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the temperament, because you got to have a certain temperament. But, and then that's good that they acknowledge that. But it's usually more of I don't know where my role stops and this role starts. And therefore it feels messy.
Yes.
And I just got lucky. I'm an open book. I got lucky. My design school at the time was run by an architect, the dean, which I was 22. I thought, okay, I guess that's normal. It's apparently not normal.
Yeah.
And so we were taught a lot of drafting and, and not engineering, but codes. We had classes on codes and legal things. And so I just was drawn to that. And so the firms I worked for did construction. So I learned it that way.
Sure.
It's really, but I get those that didn't have that background. Of course, it would be intimidating. Like, I don't know where my role is.
How do you feel for a designer that wants to be able to add more construction to their projects? What do you think a good entry point is if they didn't go to design school or a school that had that educational component?
Most designers have done work in their own homes. Mm-hmm. And they negate that as a project. And they'll tell me, and I'm like, oh, did you do any construction? Like, oh yeah, we gutted this, we added it on. I'm like, well, that's a project. And I was like, just because you were the client, chances are you had opinions and you met in meetings. And they're like, oh yeah, I kind of did. I'm like, those count. I know a lot of designers and I'll see their feeds and I'm like, that's your living room. They're not going to tag it as such.
That's how I started my business. But I've been transparent about it.
Well, and they're not trying to hide it. They just sort of like, here's a living room.
Right.
Now, if they went on and on about how the client was, so easy to work with, all that.
They're so beautiful
much.
Too.
It's great. Yeah. Dreamboat client. But most people have a little bit of experience. And then the other is just be honest. Chances are they have a client already. If they're decorating the living room, they have a client who's considering who knows what, a small powder room renovation, a bathroom renovation, a kitchen refresh, and they just don't even know to ask that designer about it. Mm-hmm. So the minute a designer starts talking about it, not just in their client's living room, but in general, word gets out. And then you be honest with your client, your contractor. This is my first, second, or third. I am learning along the way. Then you price accordingly, by the way. It's okay to be new at something. Like we all think we need to start on day one as the expert and we feel somehow lesser than if we're not. But everybody has a first day. Everybody has a first month. Everybody has a first project. I just think so long as you're honest about it, you will have people that take you up on that for sure.
I think most clients want that versus not. I think getting people wanting bathroom remodels, for instance, that's, I get the most of those.
Totally.
That's the most things people do in their homes, I think, of all levels of clients. Yeah, I think asking questions and not being afraid of just not knowing, or hey, let me get back to you on that.
Just ask the contractor.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is I'm learning every day on job sites. And if I wasn't, I'd probably start doing something else. There's just no finished learning. You can get to a certain level of base knowledge, but you're still learning. And hell, the way electrical work was done 30 years ago is slightly different than the way, no LED, so I'm learning, and I think that's what keeps me doing it.
I feel like when you get past that first, I mean, this was just like me taught in my banking career was, it's okay to say you don't know the answer, but you have to follow it up with saying, I'm going to figure it out, or what you're going to do to figure it out. Who's accountable? Like, hey, that's the contractor, I will go to them. Or, hey, that's the plumber, let me talk to them. And I feel like it's easy to get caught off guard with that. Like, well, I don't know what you're explaining. Most of our contractors can't even explain things to our clients half the time. So we're trying to translate. And if we're already at a disadvantage, it does feel humbling, maybe, of just like, I don't know these words they're saying, but I know it must be important because they wouldn't be telling me, but I need to figure this out, or I need to understand how, and like ask them to walk me through it. I joke with some of my contractors a lot because I'm like, I try to be like a little bit silly about it. I'm like, okay, wait. Tell me like I don't know what you're talking about. And then they get excited because they're like, okay, he's interested enough to learn this. And I do feel like there might be a misconception among many contractors who diminutize the role of often women in design, which is like, you don't want to know about this, or you're not curious about this, or why would I tell you about some of it? You don't want to know. You're just the designer. And I think that's like something that is constantly being fought against when you talk to women in design specifically.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I'm usually the only girl on the job site. And there's a whole lot of, whole nother conversation about all those gender roles that play in.
And misogyny and all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To your point about asking and like not understanding terms. So let's play that out. If you had told the client, this is my second bathroom job, I have enough knowledge, I feel confident I can help you through this, but there will be times where I'm going to need to look something up, ask for clarifying questions, what have you. Again, like then the client is saying yes with eyes open. So they'd expect you to say something along that line, right? They'd expect Shaun to say, could you tell me, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. The client be like, yeah, this is his second one. He told me this. We're all learning together. Yeah. It's just having that confidence that that's not a negative. I mean, I joke with my girlfriends. You met one of them at High Point. If we'd had Google back in the 90s, that would have been badass. Like, we had to actually like figure it out or just ask. And maybe that's why I don't have as much of a problem with it, because we had to ask someone or go to a public library and check out a book. It's that long
or
ago.
Like call around to different tradespeople to say, I heard you were doing this, or I saw you did this, and tell me now how you did it, or whatever.
Exactly.
We didn't have the same access.
Yeah.
Or even just being able to DM other designers when I'm looking at, like, I look at stuff when I was a brand new designer and I'm like, wait, how did you do the finish edge on that tile? Because I know that it doesn't come that way. And, I think that even now we just have such a broader knowledge base that's more accessible to us through one another.
Hands down.
We can see what other people's contractors are doing and talk to each other about that.
And
I
think the culture of transparency has been happening the last, like, my experience 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of like gatekeeping was part of the culture of the industry from what I've heard, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's evolving quite a bit. I was going to ask, like, so the whole only girl on the job site, like, and it's funny, I've never really thought about it, but now I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, I guess I always am. And sometimes I think, though, that clients see it as an advantage and they look to us as like, okay, fix that. Like, you're going to be the one that's going to make this right or fix it or take the notes or follow up. How do you approach that?
I don't think it's always a negative to be the only girl. It just, you have to be comfortable knowing you stand out in some way. Yeah. And it's not just the profession, but being a designer, which has stereotypically been seen as a lesser profession, it sort of just can double down on you, right? And so I think it's comforting if your client is a woman, because they aren't feeling like the only girl on the job site, to have me by their side. I also think it gives me the ability to kind of behave in a different way. And I mean, I'm not confrontation gets me nowhere on a job site. So I'm more of the mediator
Right.
is probably a great way
I guess
to put
that's
it.
kind of what I was meaning. Yeah.
And women are good at that, right? We are really good at people. We're really good at reading people. As it turned out, my undergraduate degree was in sociology because I thought it was fun, but I use that stuff a lot.
Every day.
Every day. Who knew? I'd love to say it was, by design, but it wasn't. But I think it actually can be to your advantage, which I know some people listening will be like, nope, I feel like I'm in blinking red light when I walk into a job site. And some of that is being projected from the woman, from out of fear of not fitting in.
Mm-hmm.
They're not intending to do that, but that's what's happening. And
but
so
you walk in immediately, no, you don't. You already feel like I'm already out of place.
Yep.
And now I have to defend my credibility because I'm not some Carhartt wearing, hoodie wearing contractor in his steel toe boots. I already, no matter what, don't look like everyone else they're working with every day.
Yeah.
Correct.
So much of that depends on the clients and how much they value your role, because my best clients are always turning to me to what is your decision? Because that's the one we're going to go with, or we're going to listen to how you interpret this and come up with a solution. So it's how much do clients value design? And then obviously the contractors' personalities are a huge factor.
Huge.
Oh, gosh.
Because I think that can be a double-edged sword. So if the contractor is feeling like his word doesn't matter,
right,
only Renee's word matters, that can work against you because that client's not always with you. I've seen that backfire, and not intentionally. Obviously, the client doesn't want to, create conflict on their own projects, but it can work against you. I think ultimately, it's how you define your value to your clients. And I think designers struggle with that because they're not 100% sure what their value is for their client. And so it's hard to put that into words. And then when they do work that out, it's almost on a replay reel. And so they think that value is the same to the contractor and the same to the architect and the same to, and it's not. Your value to your client is vastly different than the value you bring to a contractor. And that's also different than the value you bring to an architect. So if you're not explaining yourself in those three different silos, then somebody is getting the wrong definition of your role.
How often are you working with the same contractor teams?
Never often enough. No, that's the thing. It's beautiful. When I hear who the teams are, I'm like, yes, it's this one will go smoothly.
Yeah.
It's the one downside. You don't always get to choose your team.
Yeah.
For sure. So do you have an approach when you're starting? Because I feel like my best case scenario is to be the liaison for the designer, but feel like me and the contractor are on the same team with the same goal to get the client's results. And it works, obviously, when you've worked with them before and you end up having a shorthand and you can pick up the phone and you're chit-chatting about your weekend. They're having that relationship is so important. But on a new contractor, if the client brings them in, it can be very intimidating and scary. What is your approach for, do you have do you have a contract with the contractor? I know some people do that.
Or rules of engagement, kind of, or...
I don't. I know some designers do, and it works for them. I solely work for the clients, always and forever. But it's like the first day of school, right? You're walking in, and if it's a team, if it's a big firm, it's like you're walking into school a week late, and all of the friend groups have been established, right? That's the best way to describe it. And so you kind of have to go with that. If it's day one and everybody's fresh and new, which is not usually the case. Usually some of the trades know each other. Yeah, it's, hey, I'm Renee. And you can see the thought bubbles above their heads. Oh God, we're going to have to manage her. She's going to be a pain in the ass. She's going to run up our budget. Those are the things that they're worried about. So if I can quell those immediately, I try. So I might mention another trade that I've worked with, thinking maybe they've come across them and that legitimizes me, or they're going to call them from the truck later, be like, what's Renee's deal? Unbeknownst to me, my son is a huge football fan. I did not grow up watching football. Monday mornings, I'm good. In the fall, I'm like, hey, who watched this? And they're looking at me like, oh my God, she knows what she's talking about. I live in Eagles country. For This will probably blow up your DMs. I live in a house of Cowboy fans, so that's very controversial. Who knew? And so they'll now joke back at me. They'll be like, "Yeah, we took you out," or and I'm like, "I know, I know." So it's finding those commonalities.
Finding some common ground, yeah.
Yeah, and it could be just as simple as, "Hey, this is exciting. I've never done this," or "I have done this," or and it's like school.
Yeah, showing interest in what they're doing, I think,
Yep.
helps a lot. How do you set rules around? I know when on bigger projects it's all scoped out, but like who's purchasing what? Like, do you work that out with the client first, and then because all those contracts can not always go together.
Align, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely encourage all designers to procure something on every construction project. I know that's a point of anxiety for a lot of designers. They don't think they, quote, can. So my best advice is to get your hands on the budget, because every line item that says allowance is up for grabs, in my opinion. And and they're also never right. So the more you can run down those numbers and then say to the client, "Hey, this 2,400, actually, given what you've told me and what you want to put in here, I think this is over. I think we're going to come in at 2. Or this 2,400 just doubled because their formula is just an industry standard and it never holds water." And so all of a sudden you've just created value to that client who this is what I hear. "Oh, I just assumed he knew what I'd want." Right? And they don't realize that these are just formulas. It's actually one of the things that gets me the most annoyed. So at that point, you've established a value, right? Renee has caught something that, contractor Bob hasn't told me. And if they do tell them, it's sort of in a breezy, I've sat in these meetings, they're like, "Well, these are just estimates." And again, the homeowner thinks I'm building a $2 million home. These estimates will get me pretty much what I want. The three of us know that's not even close.
We're not specking $2 a square foot tile. Like, that's not going to happen.
So primary bathroom, not for like maybe in your laundry space or something. We'll try to be budget friendly, but we're never coming in that low. The big ones I always get is like, I can usually call out tile, like you're saying, like how to add the value quickly is look at the tile numbers, look at the flooring numbers. They're usually way off. And then even though you might not know all the other stuff, like I'm not necessarily going to rip apart the entire bid that fast, but I can quickly look at a few key areas that spend a lot of money and just say, "Hey, we're way off," or they're quoting with vinyl windows and you said you wanted to have wood frame. Like, we got to figure those things out. And like you're saying, that's your way into handling those items maybe, or getting them back into your purchasing allowances?
It is, because, first of all, you've shown to the client that you can source it maybe less, or maybe you know exactly what they want and it will be more. That's when the conversations start with the client. I'm happy to procure this. This is in his, estimate. The reality is contractors and designers have the same business model. Fees, flat fees for time, cost plus for materials. So you have to be aware of that. Like, they're obviously banking on making money off of whatever it is that's in their line items marked allowance. So I'll be honest, I never get necessarily the same things on every project, but if I can get a tile from one of my resources that the contractor doesn't have an account with, then typically they will, okay, fine, you take it. And so it is sort of a negotiation at that point.
Are you going like line by line with them, or like through the project, or do you work it out on the front end? Because that's where, like, I'm dealing with this right now. Like, oh wait, who's buying the appliances? Like, me, you, or the client?
So I don't usually touch just in general.
I don't want to buy the appliances
because there's no margin in either.
Right.
And typically that's your carrot, especially the plumbing, because designers don't tend to get a decent margin on plumbing, but contractors can, because they have those tiered systems. So if I want to buy the vanities, the tile, typically we're given the decorative lighting, but it is in their budget line. If I want to buy those 3 or the flooring, to Shaun's point, that's a lot of money right there, those 4 items. Yeah. And I'll say, but you keep the plumbing, you keep the appliance, or, whatever. And it's
slabs.
I'll give you these 4 apples, you take those 6 apples, and you may or may not get the same things on each project. But if I bring the contractor in I get to buy whatever I want. And he knows it. Like that's a discussion beforehand. And I'm always transparent with the client about that as well.
So you're like telling them, hey, this is my relationship with this contractor. They can come in, they'll give you their bid. I'm not getting compensation from the contractor. You're still working with them, but
correct.
I do have a working relationship with them, and this is what I will manage when I work with them.
Yes. Ultimately, you're possibly even saving the client money, but you're definitely getting them what they want, right? Because the allowance numbers never play out. The dreaded change order conversation starts happening. And so the sooner you can get those, typically we're the last if we're not on the front end, we're usually the last in the door. And so the homeowner is, okay, it's $2 million bill. That's what they financed for. That's what they've saved for. And all of a sudden it might come in at, I don't know, $2,050,000. Well, $50,000 is a lot, right? But if I can come in and maybe the number is 35, they're still over their $2 million that they've, discussed and financed for. But all of a sudden they've got a $15,000 savings. They don't have change orders, because what I've had happen in the past, and one of the things I find difficult if you don't know the client well is, really you're looking at week 2 saying, hey, can you hand me the budget? And they're like, ooh, I don't know Renee well enough. I haven't established that trust. I'm
worried.
Right? Like, ooh, I don't know if I really want to show my hand. Well, my response is always, I can get pretty close in estimating what you're paying, right? Like that's just, you're probably around 2 million. They're like, oh, how do you know? And it's like, well, because, we've done this.
This is what I do all day.
But if you don't know, right, if you're new enough, you just say, listen, the word allowance when we were children was a good thing, right? The word allowance in a construction project is an evil word, and it's a trap. It's not intentional. They don't do this as a gotcha moment.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes
it
is.
I know, but you're trying to play fair.
Right.
You got a sandbox you're playing in, and this is week 2 of like a 6-month project.
Sure.
But you say, like, listen, let me look at the allowances, and that's when the conversation starts. Oh, wait, well, why? They did a house. I heard this. They did a house 3 doors down. Why wouldn't we? I saw what they did. Why wouldn't they use those allowance numbers? I'm like, well, we don't know what they ended up spending, right? Your friends aren't going to tell you, and they're like, oh. Well, I assumed it would be all natural stone. I'm like, ooh, big assumption there. Big assumption that's not going to play out well. So that's when they hand it to you. And so that's when you start looking through the allowances and start breaking it down and breaking hearts. But if you don't, and I have had clients years ago, I wasn't confident enough to really push through. Everything was demoed out. And he starts picking out tiles and realizing, and I was looking at his allowance numbers. He finally showed them to me. I was like, yeah, oh my God. Like to Rebecca's point, like you had like $2 a square foot and we're all natural stone.
Right.
And he's like, wait, what? He's like, what will that get me? And I told him, and he's like, but that's what they just tore out. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm over a barrel. My walls are bare. I said, yeah, you are. Should have dialed me in sooner. Now he still would have been at that same point, but it would have been an educated decision, right? It would have been, okay, I understand what's happening. I don't feel taken advantage of. I mean, honestly, I've told my contractor friends, I'm like, this is why you guys get a bad rap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
it feels like a surprise.
Or taken advantage of, a trap, And they're like, well, Renee, it's not fair. I know they're going to bid it out. And I know all my competitors are going to use these formulas. And I'm like, I get it. But then you need to talk to your competitors and say, let's go give realistic estimates.
Or explain and do like, this is what level of construction or materials we're speccing here.
Right.
One big question I always have is, so you do construction and you're furnishing most of your projects. Mm-hmm. How do you protect that budget for your furniture?
What do you mean by protected?
Well, if they have $2 million in constructions going over and you had, I don't know, estimated $250 of it for furniture, like how do you protect that budget if construction costs are starting to gobble it up?
So that's an ongoing conversation. The minute there's another change order, hey, Mrs. Jones,
that's my couch.
You're cutting into your couch. That can factor into whether they upgrade something along the way or not. But unfortunately, the furniture budget is typically taken
squeezed.
Squeezed for sure. Now bonus is if you can value engineer your furnishings into, hey, in 6 months, we'll come back and finish out XYZ. We'll use your existing living furniture. You might be able to actually prolong your project, get another, fee, because obviously you're going to do the work at a later time. There's some upside, but no, unfortunately, construction typically goes over budget.
There's a contractor I know here that they're a bigger firm and they only work with designers, and they put that in their budget. They keep furniture in there, so clients always have that, which I think is really smart and nice.
Where do they get that number? From the designer?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That'd be really nice if everybody did that.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like unless we're the one keeping that, in this case, like at that contractor, Rebecca, they're doing that in a budget that the client can see really early and they see it constantly.
Yeah, they're managing they're bigger new builds. And they want a furnished project too. They care about that and the marketing of it. And
because they want to photograph it.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear that from architects all the time. Oh, we'd photograph more of our interiors if, they didn't run out of budget.
Sectional wasn't thrown in again. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I literally had a client a few months ago, like, oh, these sofas were on Costco. And I was just like, never send me this again. Like,
I can't unsee this.
Unsubscribe. Like, I was just like, you will never, like, I'm like, please put that away. That is not what I was just like, that's not the quality, the style, the comfort, the durability. That's none of the stuff you told me you wanted.
Right.
And you're just going to be rebuying it later. I was like, put it away. We'll talk later. Like, I think it's just like some clients start doing that triage where they're like, well, I cut so much of this and I'm still going to need a place to sit. And I'm like, well, but hold on. That's not the answer, is to give you something like uncomfortable that will fall apart on you and you'll just be back in the same spot a year later. Like, let me...
We can also put paper blinds up so your neighbors don't see you, but is that what you just spent $2 million on?
Right.
Oh,
right. House poor. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And that's part of the education, right? That's part of explaining it, and the earlier we're in on that project, the more that we can establish that. And then that they trust my opinion, right? They're like, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe we dig in deeper, my favorite is, you're supposed to put a contingency, 10-15% aside. And the homeowners will be like, well, don't tell the contractor. I'm like, wait, why? They're like, well, we don't want him to, blow through it. And I was like, well, first of all, if you've hired a contractor, you think we'll use this as a slush fund, you should probably rethink who you hired.
Yeah.
It's so irresponsible.
Same with designers.
It's the same thing. Yeah, I feel like you need us to know that because it tells me, like, is this the thing we should use your reserve on or not? Or, correct. Hey, remember that appliance that you were like super obsessed with? I think we need to save that contingency for that new tariff that got added. Like, let's not give it up. But it's helpful for me to know that fund is there. And then they can tell me, like, this is one, Rebecca knows, an ongoing project that went through multiple phases, and it's just now starting to get further underway with like coastal commission and approvals. And I told them, I'm like, I need to know what's left in that amount before you guys are like not sleeping at night, because then I'm going to push back a little bit more on the contractor, or maybe I'm going to go back and look at their original bid and question like, nope, that was technically included in your original bid. So you're not going to add a change order, and you might have to get in there with a fine tooth comb to advocate for them. Sometimes it's just,
absolutely,
it does need a lot of our time to do it. And hopefully we're getting paid for that time to dig into that stuff.
Right. But that is also why clients hire us. I mean, let's be honest. There's houses being built right now as we're talking without us on site, right? And somehow, some way, they'll make it through. Now, would it be better if we were involved? Of course. But the reality is, that's what we're for. We are the liaison. We are the advocates. We know a bigger picture. We have more experience. I mean, most of my clients that I work with, this is either maybe their very first, maybe their second. They don't do these huge renovations all the time. So they don't have the experience that we have. Even if you're new and you've done 3 projects, that's usually 2 more than their homeowner has under their belt.
That is so true.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, hotties. If you love the show and wish we'd name names, or you want to hear even spicier design rants, then you're going to want to join our loyal hotties on Patreon.
For just $20 a month, you'll get access to exclusive episodes, including our process party episodes where we can share screens, do business deep dives, and join us in our monthly live hottie hangouts. There we talk shop, share wins, and sometimes overshare.
Yeah, you'll also get 20% off of all of our business tools and templates in our shop and access to our private Facebook community. That's where we really get to share some juicy extras that we don't post anywhere else.
And just so you know, the Hot Young Designers Club is made possible by listeners like you. So thank you for being part of this community.
Come hang out with us. Become a loyal hottie today at patreon.com/HYDC. And we have a lot more exposure. We have so much more exposure to it and resources available than a client does. Like, what are they going to do? Go on like a Facebook group and find advice? Probably not.
Oh, no, they do. And then they crowdsource. It's terrifying.
And their neighbors.
It's even worse. Yeah.
Their best friend.
But like getting advice from somebody that did a remodel 15 years ago is not very helpful today. 5 years ago.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's
infuriating.
So
right.
I wanted to ask you about something kind of controversial.
Ooh. I don't even know what this is.
You brought it up. So you brought it up at our panel.
It's my own damn fault.
Uh-oh.
And I listened to your episode about it too. About pretty proposals.
Pretty proposals. There's no need for a pretty proposal.
Your thoughts about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I work alone. I have no in-person design help. I've had it over the years. So, for years, aside from my 3 best friends from design school, I had no contact with what other designers were doing, like what they were presenting or not presenting. And then when I started the podcast, obviously I met more designers and the course. Now I'm seeing the members in the course can send me their scopes of work. And I just had this feeling. I was like, God, I feel like there's a disconnect earlier in the pricing problem that everybody seems to have. And unfortunately, I was really right. These scopes of work, bless their hearts, they pour hours into them. They're these big Canva docs. One of them was 32 pages long. I kid you not.
A proposal?
Individual pages?
32 individual pages, a whole deck. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was beautiful, but it had an about page, it had testimonials, it had all these,
it was like
flowery
a website.
Language. It was like a marketing pamphlet and a proposal and a scope of work, all like crammed into one. And when I got that one in particular, I had just started 2 new jobs or I was in the process of proposing and meeting and all that. And so I was privy to the architect's proposal, which I don't always see, but this guy sent it to me because I had brought him on and I knew what the contractors looked like. And I was like, huh. So the architects was like 2 pages. The contractors, I think, was 3. And there was not a flowery word on it, no adjectives. And they both had their letterhead, really old, horrible, like, God, boys, you need to rebrand. But, nonetheless, one had like a little outline, which I thought was, very hip for a contractor.
Like an outline, like a border?
Yeah, a little border. I was like, some woman in his office did that. I mean, not to be gender specific here, but
yeah, he was like, why not just regular paper? And they're like, this is an upgrade. Let's keep trying.
We'll use the parchment
I gotta store that somewhere else. Like,
yeah.
And then I thought, God, can you imagine if that designer came in to the same homeowners, right? Mr. and Mrs. are looking at 2-page, they're looking at 3-page, all white, with font and black font and then 32 pages with colors and pictures and then they wonder why we look different than the contractor and the architect. And so my goal is like, let's level that playing field. Like you're in there asking for a lot of money, like, right? I mean, we're not cheap. We shouldn't be cheap. What we're offering is a really, high level experience for a client. And so we need to be the way our other teammates are. And I think that was setting it apart. Plus by the way, by the time you get to a proposal, if you need an about page, you've not done your job. right? That client should know who you are, should have already gone through your testimonials, right? Like you don't need that in a proposal. A proposal is a legal document. Like this is what I'm going to give you, and this is what I'm asking to be paid. And so I rewrote it for her, and she actually got the job. She took all of my edits. I didn't rewrite it. I wrote in lots of edits, and she completely tore it apart. She rebuilt it, and she got the job.
Are you
and
stripping it to black and white?
Yeah. Actually, I don't care. I mean, I love fonts. I don't care if she has pink paper, right? Okay. Let's be, that's fine. But take out all of the fluff. Nobody wants that. She has first of all, I got lost halfway through it. I was like, wait, did I already read the scope of work? I think I did. And I had to go back. So if I'm getting lost and I know exactly what I'm looking for, you've lost your homeowner at page 5. So she actually got it. And the guy, I didn't know any of this. The guy was an attorney, and she was up against 4 others. She was not the cheapest. But he said, you were the clearest. I know exactly what I'm getting from you. And I was like, yay, So I think that's where, contractors, again, I don't know which episode I've been sort of ranting on this lately, but they don't apologize. We apologize for our numbers. They're like, here it is, Mrs. Jones. It's going to be 2.1 million.
Because I think we're seen as talking. Extra.
Yes, we are seen as extra. We're not.
And in some ways, we're not, but in some ways we kind of are in that we're not the actual structure. But, we do need to sell our value.
So I'm going to push back on that lovingly. If a designer is not on a project and a project has an issue, which every single project has, whether it's a new build or a renovation, who is making the decision on the change in the design?
Right.
Is it the homeowner? Is it contractor Bob?
Contractor Bob doesn't even ask.
Usually contractor.
Right.
Yeah, they defer to that person in the absence of anyone else to tell them. Then they're like, well, this guy knows more than I do, so let's just trust contractor Bob.
Exactly. Because the architects usually walk away after framing and roughing. Most of the architects I work with are like, okay,
I'm out.
They just want to know the engineering. Yeah, the engineering was handled, and they're like, okay, cool.
Was not my clear scope. This was not my clear scope of work. So back to the proposal thing. What I was hearing were 2 different things, and I don't disagree with you. But the main thing you were talking about in the episode I listened to was clear scope of work and clear deliverables, which you were showing. I liked you gave some examples of architect versus designer and the language differences and the clarity differences, which I always am just refining, trying to make it more clear. And I probably have more work to do, but I totally agree with you. Especially you advocate a flat fee model a lot of the time, and you have to have clarity to make that work. So I guess my thought and my question that I'm questioning myself on is my proposal's not 32 pages, but it does have pictures. It doesn't have an about or testimonials. And I really do try to get to the meat quickly, but I also do think our role is to make it pretty, make everything we do pretty, and have most designers, or I should say most clients, want that from us. They want to have that softer service experience, and they don't need that from their contractor, or I should say they don't expect it.
They don't expect it, yeah.
So it's finding that middle ground.
Yeah. So here's the thing I keep coming back to is there's no one perfect way. Yeah. And Shaun was with me in California. There was a designer who shall remain nameless, who has been very successful. She has covered her butt on all of her projects, and she's hourly. And there was about 3 or 4 of us who went deep. We're like, nope, you got to switch. And we were doing this scenario and that scenario. And she was like, no, I'm doing this and that. And you know what? Ultimately, go for it. If you are actually getting paid for the services you're providing, you're tracking your hours and you're covering your hours, then it's working for you. What was happening to me, I was hourly for till about 3-4 years ago. So 29 years. All the women I worked for in New York were hourly. The problem was at the end of the month, I was shaving hours off. I was like, oof, I don't know. Mrs. Jones, she won't understand that it was like 5 hours. I'll bill her 3. So then who the hell's paying me for 2? No one. No one was paying me for 2. And so, or I would hit, or my bookkeeper would say, okay, invoices are out. And I'd be like, okay, I'll watch the inbox, and you'd see an email reply. You're like, oh God.
Like, what are they questioning?
I mean, who wants that anxiety attack? I lived that for years. So we're constantly defending our time, right?
That's true.
And then I would bill at the end of the month. That means I was working for free, essentially basically like a loan to my client, and then billing at the end of the month.
Design services,
right?
Yeah.
So with a flat fee model, I get paid in advance of my time. And the other thing I found, now again, I have lots of historical data, and I recognize that. And so I actually spoke to a client of mine who I've become friendly enough with, and I said, hey, listen, what do you think of this? What if I switched to flat fee? What if I had presented all of this at one time? And she said to me, it would have been great. It would have been great to know upfront in the beginning. Now, this was a big new build. So this was a multi-year project. She said, I would have been able to finance better. I would have been able to know month after month, or however, you had sliced out your payment schedule, what your bills were. I wouldn't have gotten a $500 bill one month and a $3,000 bill the next month. Right. And, the ups and downs and ups and downs. That is normal, right, for us, because our projects ebb and flow by phases.
Right.
And she said to me, I wouldn't have understood how much it would have cost in the beginning. She goes, now I look back and think you should have charged me more. Right. And she's a really good client. And I'm thinking, I did shave time off. Damn it. Can I go back in retro? And I thought that was incredibly solid. She's a businesswoman. It was very solid advice, because that meant I had to do a better job of explaining what I was going to be doing on a total job level, not just I'm bringing your dreams to life. Right. And I see a lot of that. That's what I mean by flowery language. I see a lot of that in projects. It's not, I will be attending weekly meetings for the duration of the project, right? So if the contractor says this project is going to be 18 months, divide that out by the weeks. Renee will be there X number of, I don't say I'm going to be there 52 times, but I see people like, I'll be at site meetings. Okay. How many?
Which ones? Or
are you coming like when you feel like it, when there's a problem, right? Like, to me, that leaves the designer open for a problem, right? I'm always looking at it for the designer. It's how do you protect your time? So the other thing I love to see is drawings, floor plans, elevations, and renderings. I don't do my drawings anymore. I really wish I did, but I hand draw, so it takes forever. So I farm it out, and God, they're expensive. Like, these renderings they're not cheap. So I got to make sure that I'm covering the expense of all my renderings. So if I don't list how many, then technically can't Mrs. Jones just keep asking for them?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If it didn't say like 2 views of the great room, because like a bigger space, you might need more views. But then she's like, I want to see from the fireplace, or I want to see from the windows,
or make this tile, and I want to see it in blue.
Correct.
And after you've done a rendering, you probably need to say revisions of renderings not included, unless you intend to offer the revisions in your fee structure. Then you might want to have a stopgap that says, hey, if we get to final presentation, those renderings will no longer be revised. Like, if you change the color of the sofa, I'm not going to revise your rendering anymore. I'm not going to revise.
And there's a nice way of putting that, right? In that if she really does want that, then there'll be an additional fee, right?
Yeah.
But it also, my hunch is that when she sees that, she's going to like, you're right. I mean, you rendered it in cream and we're going to white. Yeah, I think I can manage seeing the difference.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
But so if you don't put in those limitations, then sure, technically she can ask. Now, I know most designers will be like, whoa, hey, I'm not going to, I'll have to bill you for that. And then it becomes uncomfortable because she's going to like, really? Okay, well, that's confusing. It's, and you'll have some asshole clients who be like, no, you can't bill me. It's not in your contract. I mean, we've all worked, at least I've worked for a bunch of clients who would say that to me.
Yeah.
So I just want designers to be really specific about what they're actually going to be doing. And that way, when the client, everyone says scope creep is like change orders for a contractor. Like that's like the evil term. And scope creep happens. Like actually, I look for scope creep now. I think it's fantastic when my scopes creep because it's more work for me. But if your scope is tight and you're doing the kitchen and it's very clear as to what you're doing, and all of a sudden Mrs. Smith is like, while we're here, while the contractor's here and the house is torn apart, you know what? Let's flip that powder room around. And you're like, fantastic. And most designers will go, okay, what do I do about that? Now I'm like, that is awesome. Let's build out that scope of work. I'll send it to you. You approve it. And I'll send you an addendum to our contract. Now, Mrs. Smith has an option. Great. Let's drill down as to what I want to do. Or B, nah, you know what? I'll hold off. Because she was thinking you would just sort of slip it in. Because that's what contractors do.
Contractors are like, yeah, I can do that. You want me to add a recirculation system for the whole house? I can do that.
Sure.
Here's hand me $40,000. It's probably
here's your change order.
But here you go. And that's what we are doing essentially.
But we tend to be like, addendums. Oh God, do we have to just sort of? Maybe I'll just charge her half. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you gifting these people? Trust me.
They're already on the hook.
Yeah,
they're already there.
Right. I mean, it does make sense technically. But here's the thing. That contractor has another job lined up right afterwards. So now you've got to make sure they actually have the time to hang around and add a couple more weeks onto their schedule. It's like everybody has to come in with change orders. Why are we not allowed to do that?
We are. We don't. We don't want to make waves or, we really like them. We don't want that to be the thing that sours them. And then yes, I hear what you're saying is the objectivity is you go, but why would that sour them? They're saying they want to do more and they're asking, they're like giving you the chance to do it first. So they're obviously, you're at the top of their list if they're thinking of you already. It's now just yes, let's see what was covered in our scope of work and what wasn't. And I'll send you the difference and you can tell me if you want me to keep doing it. Yeah. And I don't know many designers right now who would be turning down additions to scope of work. Like you probably want to keep working for the client you already have who's there. Instead of running out to find another powder room from someone else, it's easier to just do it for that client, but make sure you get paid.
That's the problem. I want to make sure they're getting paid appropriately.
Right. It's not minimizing the design fee for that powder room just because you're already there.
But your point, in order to do that, is you have to have had the original scope of work very clearly and things are carved out. Or do you explicitly state the things you are not doing? Because I think that's when clients will get confused. Like you've said, for an example, was the contractor's asking for cabinet tail drawings that you were never intending on doing, but the client doesn't know the difference.
Yeah, you need to be careful on what drawings you're including, not willing to, but including in that project. Now, I will humanize all day long. I will make mistakes and I might miss something. And so that's part of the conversation. But it's not, I no longer then just absorb it. Right. So if that happened, if I said I was going to do the drawings in the kitchen for the layout and he thought I was going to do, I don't know, the actual cabinetry layout, and that caught me off guard. One, teachable moment. It won't catch me off guard twice. But in that moment, I go to Mrs. Smith and I go, okay, it was my understanding that he would do this. And then it's a judgment call. Right? Like that is what I want all designers to have is the empowerment to make the judgments. I will absolutely, quote, gift a client some of my time if I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be forced to feel like I have to. So I want designers to be empowered to say, hey, Mrs. Smith, like maybe this is some Mac Daddy kitchen and it's going to be this most incredible, spread. I'm going to try and get published with it. And I need to throw in a couple extra hours because the contractor didn't communicate properly. Yeah, maybe I'll split the time with the contractor. Maybe I'll split the time. I'll be like, hey, you know what, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to need a couple more hours to actually take my team and turn these elevations into, as-built or whatever. It's a judgment call, but it's up to me to determine what I'm willing to gift to a client. And that's a powerful switch. I used to be in the defensive, like, okay, I guess I'll do it because I'm worried I'm going to get fired or Mrs. Smith is going to be upset or, now it's more, I'm happy to do this for you. I gift clients hours all the time. Don't get me wrong, all the time. But it's my choice now as opposed to feeling like I have to. And I feel like designers, unlike contractors don't ever feel like they have to gift anything. And then I feel like we as designers tend to feel like we do.
I'd agree with that. I think a lot of times it's just like, oh, I don't want to fight. And you're like, what? But it doesn't have, it's not a fight.
It's not a fight.
It doesn't have to be.
Gendered. I mean, just as a broad statement, 100%. But I do think it is.
But again, I'm more confident the tighter my contracts are.
Yeah.
Because it's there. Now, I'll be honest, I don't even know if my clients really read all the pages. These damn lawyers make all of this legalese in there. But they have an opportunity to. So
or if there's a problem, they're going to go back and read it.
They're going to go back there.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. So a contract, my town is filled with bankers and lawyers. Like probably all your credit cards say Wilmington, Delaware on the back of them. So I got bankers and lawyers in my world. And so they're all like, Renee, this contract is good, but you can still, shit goes wrong just because you have a contract. I'm like, you're right. So it's just a tool that I can use to, one, create parameters as to what I will be delivering, and a tool for what won't be included. Whether I specify that or not, I try not to put negatives, like here's what you're going to get and here's what you're not going to get.
Yeah.
But obviously it's implied. If it's not listed under the deliverables, it's not included. But yeah, to your point, it's easier for me to have those conversations because it was in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it makes more sense to the client too, even if they realize later, oh, I really should have read that. You're just like, hey, that's cool. Like you learned a lesson in this also that, yeah, when your contractor said he wasn't adding the built-ins to your project, you should have known that he meant what he was saying, that he wasn't going to just do the built-ins for free.
I think it's the technical stuff that I think can be confusing to clients is they don't know what an elevation is necessarily.
Oh my God, no.
Like spelling some of that stuff out of what, I guess, how technical you're going to go.
Well,
and make sure they understand.
To my next point that you don't email a contract or a proposal. Mm-hmm. If it's an out-of-state client, you do a Zoom and you walk through them. You absolutely walk through page by page, whether it's line by line is up to the contractor, up to the client. But that's when they say, Renee, what's an elevation? What's the difference between an elevation and a floor plan? And I, 98% of the time, I insist that all decision makers are in that meeting or on that call. Because otherwise you're relying on, let's say, a wife to translate whatever Renee said in an hour-long meeting over all this complicated language to her husband that night. I don't want someone pitching me.
Filtering.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially if the other person's going to be the one that's going to be annoyed later. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have designers who be like, well, it's really hard. I'm like, if you're billing a $30,000 fee, wait.
It shouldn't be super easy to have someone hand you $50,000 or tens of thousands of dollars. There is a little bit of work we have to put into it in order to get paid. Like you should get paid, but also let's not lose sight of the fact that our clients are giving us a tremendous amount of respect with the money they're going to give us.
Yes.
And then it is weird to say that it doesn't go both directions, that they should have the ability to question something as long as it's not being rude or diminutive or discounting. But having a question come from someone shows that they have that curiosity and that they want to understand what they're involved in. And God, we probably all wish we had more clients that were interested in the parts of their project that get complicated.
And it's positioning and setting you up to be taken seriously. And I think that's mostly what you're saying through a lot of...
If you're in person going through it, you hopefully avoid a lot of spiraling, right? So if you email it to them and you say, hey, let me know if you have any questions, right? That's a pretty common. I would say something like that. I don't know how they're reacting. And maybe they've called 16 friends as did you have this in your contract? And they're spiraling out of control and you have no idea. So by the time they get back to you, they're like off the reservation, freaking out. And now you're like, I don't even know you're doing that. So now I got to figure out where you are and how to pull you back to reality. Meanwhile, if I'm sitting with them and they're like, hey, Renee, I don't understand. They're like, I didn't think renderings would cost money. Let's just as an example.
Yeah.
Okay. I can explain in that moment why they cost, what their value is. And you know what? Maybe she says, all right, I don't want renderings. Okay, great. I will go back and, as opposed to having her call 10 people and freaking out and thinking I'm trying to screw her or,
Yeah.
I would much rather catch that in that nanosecond and not make it a mountain, right? And just kind of catch it in the moment and have them be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I totally want renderings. Yeah. And that's probably not the best example, but it's just that time. And also you can read someone's body language. You can see if they're freaking out. You can see they're side-eyeing their husband like, holy shit, I didn't expect any of this. Like none of that is in your ability to manage if you're not even in the room. It's hard on a Zoom call, but I understand if it's out of state, you've got to make certain situations work, but don't email them. It's a big number. It's something that needs to be, handled not necessarily with kid gloves, but you're offering a custom level service. Be in the room. That's my point.
You're not the first designer to talk about that we've heard from, and it definitely does provoke more thoughts and questions. And like, if anything, that's probably something we've built into like the tenets of our show is keep questioning why you're doing something. Keep asking yourself like, do I like this? Is it working for me? And sometimes you discover, actually, no, I hate this part of my business. I really don't like that. Or I wish there was less friction. And I feel like that was, I think that's something that I'm taking. I mean, that's just for me personally. Like Rebecca's heard me talk about this over the last couple of episodes of just really focusing on what creates the most pain points and friction in our business. And if it's for us or if it's for the client, it's how do I resolve a lot of that? And that might be because I'm in my like making peace for myself era. But if it benefits my business and my clients by doing that, then I'm happy to do the exploration of those things now because I don't want to take them forward into other parts of my business. Or if I continue to grow my team, imagine all this stuff we're talking about, how hard it is for I mean, between the three of us, it's really focused on us and we have help in our teams, but we're the ones really bearing the brunt of that. But if designers are listening, they're going to grow their team. What are you giving your team to inherit also? Like, it's not just going to go away if you never figured out how to bring up scope of work changes or that we charge for those. Like, I think it's good to even future-proof our businesses as well.
Totally.
A lot of it's just practice. I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, I think I've always done it every job. Like, okay, what am I going to do differently? I'm going to tweak this part, or this gives me the ick. And I'm just now like spending the last couple of years, especially like, why do I have this yucky feeling when this part comes up or this service even? And is it because I'm scared because I've never done it before, or it's going to be uncomfortable, or is this just not for me? So I think like you have to just really...
Oh, absolutely. That's the best way to run a smooth business. And I mean, I joke, but I'm not joking. If you'd asked me some of these questions 10 years ago, you'd have totally different answers, right? Because there are lots of parts of the job I don't enjoy. And I'm constantly, what worked, what didn't work.
What do you do with things that you don't enjoy?
I research and I change them. And that's the thing. So for instance, I know a lot of designers make a big hoopla about the presentation, right? And they bring them in and they have charcuterie boards and all sorts of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I should probably be doing that. I should probably, oh my God, I need to be doing that. Oh my God, my poor clients, they're not getting this, high level experience.
They've been starved.
Right? They've been starved. Yeah, definitely. But that's not me. Like, it's just not me. And I thought about it and I just like, you know what? That would feel performative for me.
Yeah.
So I don't do it.
And it's like another thing on the table. Like,
well, and gift giving. I actually, my love language is gift giving, but I don't, take a bottle of champagne at kickoffs. I don't, golden shovel. I saw this one designer. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. I'm like, but I totally wouldn't do that. And I hope designers see that as permission, right? Like, it's funny. I do gift to my clients. I every Christmas, certain things I do, and I'm really proud of them. Actually, clients will remark on them, but Yeah, there's just certain things, I go back and forth. This may be very controversial. I don't charge for my first meeting. I don't charge to build out a scope of work. I have in the past, and I stopped because it felt icky. I'm standing in someone's living room. Now, again, this is, before Venmo and Zelle and all of that. And I wasn't taking credit cards. I felt icky standing around waiting at the end of my hour and a half, 2 hour, whatever, like waiting for the check. Right. Like I was like, okay, here's my handout. Like you got to pay me. And then especially the ones where I was like, and you're never hearing from me again. Like I'm not taking this job. Like it just, all of that felt so uncomfortable for me because I don't love saying no to people. So I just stopped and I was like, I wonder what that will be. And in the beginning, it was a total time suck because I was still going out, right? And I then was like, this isn't working either. And now I just got really good at my discovery calls. Like it takes a lot to get me into your home at this point. And I probably have missed some. I probably have because of that. But I've gotten enough of them. I've figured out how to filter well enough that I just don't even charge for it. Now, do I discredit designers who do? Nope. Again, like there's not one good way to do everything. There is one good way for Renee to do things that I'm comfortable with. So some designers I know are charging $1,200, $2,500 to get to that proposal. And that's great. And they're like, well, Renee, what are you doing about that time? I'm like, well, I'm putting that time into my proposal. So if I get the job, I am paid. If I don't get the job, that is the cost of doing business. And I have invested whatever number of hours that is. Will I go back to billing again? Maybe. I'm open to all of that. And so, again, I like designers, like I descend from engineers. So I think also that's why I'm drawn to construction. But I tend to be very like, okay, I need the one way. Thankfully, with maturity and age comes wisdom, and there's just no one way. There's a one way right now that's working for me. And I'm until it's not. But I agree with you. If something feels icky, I try to just stop. I mean, who wants to feel icky, right?
Or get better. I mean, I feel icky having money conversations that over time I'm getting better and better at. So I know, like, okay, you got to overcome some of the, like, not all ick can just be removed.
Eradicated.
Right. Because there's a lot of things in this business we have to deal with that we may not want to.
Yes.
And we can mitigate some of it. But other things, like, no, you just got to rise to the occasion and put your big girl pants on, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It is an industry that has a lot of that factor. And I think that, like we're saying, is you start to observe, if it's not one thing, it'll be another. So I just have to get better at being flexible, being adaptable, being responsive to my clients.
Or save that energy. So get rid of the other icky stuff that you can get rid of because you need to save that energy of the rising up for those things that are really important, like getting paid and being respected.
Yeah.
So
no, hands down.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
And what we do is so bizarre when you really think about what we do. I mean, we are in people's most private spaces. We see our clients' spaces. They don't even show their mothers, right? Like, I know what
friends.
Right. I mean, we see it literally at all, right? I know which side of the bed they're sleeping on. I know if someone's sleeping in the guest room that month. We see it's so weighty. And it's hard to have tough conversations standing in someone else's living room, right? Like you're completely not in your own setting. You're not in like your safe space. You're in their safe space. And I totally get it. And yes, there are times I've gotten in the car and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I want to scream or cry or both. Or like, that was so weird and uncomfortable. And, it's an odd business. It really is an odd business. But ultimately knowing all of those secrets, all of those like personal data points, man, we can make someone's home so incredibly custom to them in their exact, at that time,
very true.
Right? To that level that they didn't even think was possible. And that is, I think, pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's a superpower.
Yeah. But I know when my clients shower, I'm like, okay, there's an image, I need to know this stuff. Like, I need to know that for the lighting. I need to know,
I know why they want 2 shower heads. Like, I really didn't need to know that. But
And I know why they want a much bigger bench that can hold more weight than I think it needs to. Like,
correct. Yes. I mean, yes.
And it's my job to design that because, yes, they want to make sure it's done right for them. So, yeah. Like,
can you imagine if that bench fell? Like, ugh,
oh my God.
all sorts of problems. So
Then you want to talk about icky. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh, terribly icky. Yes. I mean,
funny.
do you walk barefoot? Do you walk naked? Do you walk like I need to know these things?
Yes.
Because
what are your toilet preferences? Yeah, there are so many.
Oh my God. Bidets, when did they become so popular? Yes. And that's the thing. It's that can feel very icky if you don't know these people very well, which we often don't at that stage, right? When we're fact finding, you don't know them very well.
That's very true.
They're not often like, wait, why is she asking me this?
Yeah, like why would this be important? And you're like, just stay with me. I've got a long story for
we're
you.
not under HIPAA, but we do have like some client designer privileges that I think are really important. And we just have to be a neutral party. Like, I'll take that information. If it's not hurting anybody, I don't care. So
this guy once asked me, he said, I want to do a sun salutation in the shower every morning. I'm like,
okay.
And I go, well, stand up. And he's like, why? And I go, put your arms out. I got to measure. I don't know what your wingspan is. Now, apparently there is some formula based on your height, but I didn't even want to trust that. The architect is sitting there going, what the hell is Renee doing? And I was like, how am I supposed to know? And by the way, you're the architect. How are you supposed to know if you don't measure the dude? Like, I mean,
so you have a long torso.
Oh my God, imagine how disappointed you would be if you built a whole bathroom.
And you're
so that could be something, and it's like maybe in your top 5 priorities, for example, and then it didn't. I would be so annoyed at having paid all of that money and then never getting the thing I wanted.
But also, he needed to tell you that. Like, if he was too embarrassed to tell you, then that would have still been the guessing game.
And you know what I always tell people? Take these stories. I always say, like, take any story you hear from me out of my mouth and say, a designer friend said, because I actually use that one to disarm my clients and say, like, hey, listen, because they'll sometimes say, like, well, what exactly is it that you need? I'm like, kind of, I need everything, right? And that doesn't tell them enough. So I'll say, like, hey, I had this client. He was a huge into yoga and he wanted to do sun salutations in the shower, and I had to measure him to get his wingspan, and they're like, okay, well then, and then they sort of feel more comfortable saying, okay, well, some other guy said this kind of odd thing because obviously he's naked, right? Like, we all know that, and that was not lost on me in the moment either. And so that I just tell these stories to disarm them, and then they're like, oh, well, in that case,
I got to tell you, this is our shower routine.
We shower together every day. Yeah.
Right. Or they'll say something like, I didn't know I could be that specific, or I didn't know, wow, that's amazing. Let me give that some thought. And then they come back with sometimes this laundry list. You're like, whoa, okay, slow your roll. I didn't expect all of this. I'm not sure your space is big enough for all of this, but the goal is to disarm them. Like, Shaun, I actually might use that one day. Be like, hey, does the shower seat need extra support under it?
Yeah.
No judgment.
Just tell me, like,
I've heard
that
can be an issue.
Or people, like,
right?
Well, are you sitting on it, or is it just going to be a collection of your hair care?
Are
products?
you sitting on it alone? Are you sitting, no judgment, And sometimes I'll say that and start laughing and say it just like that. Be like, hey, no judgment, but this is what a designer friend of mine told me once, and this is an important thing because you can't go back and add that, extra block. Like that's the kind of thing.
Exactly.
That they're like, oh, all right, and I'll be like, hey, we're in a safe space. Hell, we're in your house. Like, this is as safe as it gets.
You could tell me whatever you want here. Like, I'm bound to confidentiality by contract. So tell me what I need to know quickly.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of clients really open up. Actually, another one comes to mind. The woman I actually asked about my flat fee. She's a very high-powered banker, and she keeps crazy-ass hours, and she works out at the gym before she goes in. I'm like, do you sleep? Like, anyway, I needed to know which side of the bed she slept on because I'm looking at these architectural plans, and their bed was up against the bathroom, and they had one door in, and I was like, oh. I'm like, so what time do you get up in the morning? She's like, sometimes 4 a.m. And then I, want to go use the bathroom, and then I need to change into my gym clothes, grab what I'm going to wear to work, and off I go. And I'm like, well, interestingly, what if we put another door in on the other side by your bed? And then we'll put a door actually from the bathroom into the closet and the closet out into the hall. And the architect, and she was like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. Because right now she was going to have to walk in front of her husband and right by his head, open a door. And the architect, I said something to the architect, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, why are there two? It's kind of a long, narrow. And I told him why. And he was like, oh, interesting. I was like, so we're going to need lights by this door now. And, like we did rejigger the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? The husband's like, I don't hear her. He's like, it's the best thing ever happened. She used to wake me up most mornings. And it was just that simple of her having the trust to tell me. I mean, that wasn't overly, personal, but what side of the bed, that kind of thing. So I just think it's really important. And again, use it. Hey, a designer friend of mine was able to get, her client out and not wake up their husband every morning. And they're thrilled because of it. Like that's the kind of thing that I think forums like podcasts and seeing designers out and about, like we all work in either alone or in small, offices. And it's hard to say like, well, my designer friend had this, like start using that. Like that's paying it forward because you're only helping your clients. Yeah.
Sometimes I forget how impactful our work can be because this is just me personally. Like we get so tied up in a 1/8 grout this or offset joint this, whatever. And then it is easy to get so caught up in all the detail work, which is what our clients love about us. But sometimes you have to like come back to the high view and say, is this really making their life easier? Am I solving something? It's like little wins that are probably small decisions for us usually, but really big impact for our clients. And construction is such an integral part of how we make that happen. It's like that functional side to the pretty side everybody wants to get. And I think we've got, one, a big opportunity for designers to make sure they're getting paid appropriately for it, like you've shared. And then also to feel like we aren't getting blindsided by things that, in a scope of work that we weren't meant to be doing or we're okay doing. We just need to know it's our responsibility. Rebecca and I talk about that a lot of like, I didn't know this was my job. And it takes you off guard. And I think to your point, it does have me thinking about like looking back over my proposals in Dubsado even and saying like, how can I make this more concise, beautiful, but concise? And like,
clear.
Are there sections in here that maybe they've already seen by way of my website and my investment guide, or they heard it from me? I do it every time at my consults. I don't need to keep doubling up on everything because I've probably reinforced quite a few points and they're with me. Like, it's like,
anytime
old sales language was, if they're nodding, then you've sold it. Like,
exactly.
It's already done.
Yes, that's the kind of information I take. So like if a client asks me about a certain point in the contract, let's say about renderings again, I will go back and be like, I need to make this clear. I need to, okay, it's up to 3 or, and then if nobody else asks about it, I'm like, okay, maybe problem solved. But like, to your point, if someone's nodding along, like, okay, this paragraph is resonating, at least with this one client, but totally. Right. I think we should constantly be revising and editing and updating and, up-leveling. But to your point about what we can do, we have a superpower. I absolutely 100%. I worked in an architecture firm. We think differently. I left after 8 months. I was like, y'all are crazy. And I thought we all thought the same. We do not. They think outside in and they think proportions and program. It's just sort of in there. Obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, we think inside out. Absolutely inside out, right? We're not 100% caring where the window lands on the outside so long as it works on the inside, right? Like, let's be fair. And that's where could you scooch it over 6 inches? I want this. And they're like, yeah, no, because it's all balanced on the outside. But so I'll tell my clients, like, do not clean up your home. I do not want a clean home when I walk in. I want to see what I need to fix. Yes. Right. And so we don't even realize we're doing it because we are so super focused on our clients' lives that we'll walk through and I'll walk through and see, like, let's say a bookcase and it's just jam-packed with stuff. It is overflowing. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, we need more bookcases. They obviously like them. They don't have enough. All right, keep an eye on that on the plans. Like, they're not telling me any of this. Now, I'll bring it up and they're like, oh my God, you think you could fit some in?
Yeah.
And the architect's like, wait, why do we need more? Like, I love architects. We would be out of work without them. However, they just don't tend to see what we see. And I think that's our superpower. That's a value that we bring to our clients, as well as the architect. And some architects get very fussy about it. And I'm like, it's not that you missed something. It's just not what your forte. Like, you have incredible skills that I don't have. You know, the slants of the roof and all of that. You do you, I'll do me. And together we will create this unbelievable elevated experience for a client that will nail exactly what they need. And I've had one architect after another be like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, didn't you see the mudroom? Like, they don't have enough cubbies. They're like, yeah, but they have 4 kids. They have 4 cubbies. I'm like, I can't tell you the why, but there's shit everywhere. So obviously it's not working for them. So
it's not working. Let's fix it.
Let's fix it. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the value that we bring to projects. And I blame my profession. I don't think they've done enough to promote us appropriately on construction projects, if at all. And I think we're all out here kind of hoping and praying it all works. And so that's why I love forums like this, where we can talk about it and normalize it. Because Shaun, I started my talk in California. I was like, so how many people here are on construction projects? Every single person put their hand up. Every single person in the room. I was like, yeah, no one's talking about it. They're like, oh no. I mean, some were doing huge projects, like really seasoned, and nobody's talking about it.
Agreed. It's something that just gets like, well, that's just part of the job. It's like, no, that it's a major selling point for a lot of people, because they know they can't do their project without, we need someone who understands construction, for example. Like they already know, the clients have already identified that most of the time. So then it's a major selling factor for us to be able to say, we're confident with doing this. We're ready to do it. Your project might not be the fit for us. Let's figure that out. But we're there.
I'm seeing more and more contractors here, especially requiring designers on their projects. So it's changing, I think. And
there's hope for us yet.
They don't want to pick the paint color.
No. And to be honest, if we do our job well and we do it professionally, we all look good. Right. Like, it's not a pissing match. Again, like, I am all about, we are on a team. There is no I in team. I don't mean that, to be funny. Like, we're all equal.
We're not trying to be corny.
No, not at all. The other thing is, what I have found is decorating is seen by homeowners as a luxury. I don't work with too many clients that have zero furniture, right? We're always replacing, upgrading, up-leveling, whatever the case may be. And so if the economy turns, tariffs hit, they're like, you know what? Let's put this off a year. It's going to be yours, Renee, but I just want to wait till the world settles down. And I get it, right? It's a luxury. They have furniture. They have sofas. They're going to be just fine. They may not be happy, but the difference is construction. Of course, they wouldn't be happy, right? Because we would make it so perfect. But the difference with the construction is it's an investment. There are published ROIs on up-leveling, or upgrading your kitchens, your bathrooms. That's Googleable.
Yeah,
right? So they know if I spend $100,000, I'm going to get kitchens hover around 80%. Like, find me another investment where I'm going to get 80% on return on my investment. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely nuts. So what happens is, like, I didn't enjoy 08, 09, and 10, but I made the same money. And I had friends who just decorated go out of business, and because it was too long to sustain. And what I did was, all of my projects were construction, because those did continue. There's always people with money, and they will spend it if they think it's an investment, and they totally will shelve the luxury. And so to have both of those levers to pull as needed is a huge support system to any design business, especially small ones. It's easy for us to go out of business. I hate to say it, right?
Agree.
If we're only taking 5 jobs, 5 jobs disappear. Now you're starting at 0.
Yeah, we have to think adaptably and flexibly, and I think construction is like a major component for that, to provide security for our businesses.
Absolutely.
It just makes sense. Yeah.
And you know what? They're longer projects. I'll work with the same client for 10 years. So to Shaun, to your earlier point, I'm not out marketing on myself really, because one year we'll do the living room decorating. The next year we're going to gut the kitchen. And and I've actually had some husbands be like, Jesus Christ, Renee, because of you, we're doing so many projects because we have you. I'm like, sorry, not sorry,
Not sorry, but I'll see you at the New Year's party for the next project.
Exactly.
Every time. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's true. I don't have to like knock on cold calls and things as much because I have this stable of clients.
And a broad skill set.
Yeah.
Tell us how you can help designers that are listening that want to get better at doing this.
I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast is to talk and to kind of normalize.
And that's the only girl on the job site.
Yes. Funny story. It was a COVID baby, and I started talking to homeowners because I had my homeowner clients were upset that I couldn't come out and whatever, and construction was still being sneaked onto. And I thought, I can help. I'll just, start a podcast. And then all the designers started showing up, and I thought they were just checking me out. I think some were, but then all of a sudden the flood of emails, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys, wait, you're on construction projects and oh God, I can help with that. Like, crap, you're in over your head. And so I now just talk to designers. And I'm sure there's some homeowners that are still listening, and I'm sure they'll glean a tip or two, but no, the whole point is just to pay forward. I was very fortunate early in my career to work with incredibly talented women, and I don't have junior designers. I have no desire for that world anymore. And so this is a way of paying forward my skills. And if people can avoid the countless mistakes I've made over the course of my career, I'm happy for it. And then that spurred into a program. It's gone through a couple of iterations. It's now called the Designer's Edge. And it has the signature course that I built, the Interior Designer's Guide Construction Management inside of it. And it now has a whole studio of items I was just doing anyway. And we wanted to contain them in a way that was more meaningful and easier to understand. So that's where that scope of work, things like that. So it's contained. We have lots of master classes, Facebook group. It's really incredible. But we only talk construction. That's my lane.
And where can they find that? More information?
So we have enrollment periods. The best is to get on our wait list, and that's on my website, deVignierdesign.com. And there'll be, we don't have a date set yet for 2026. By the time this airs, we will have just finished our last enrollment period. But yes, for that time period, there's also a newsletter they can get. I send out a weekly newsletter and the podcast. So lots of, hopefully, as much information as I can share as possible.
Awesome. That's super helpful.
Where should the hotties find you?
So the hotties can find me on, anywhere they stream, right? Only Girl on Jobsite. And then my website, deVignierdesign.com, or on Instagram. I try to share. I'm not as good as I should be. Lots of hats to throw on, right?
None of us
it gets hard.
Yeah.
I always tell people.
We'll put links in the show notes so they can find you too.
Okay.
So
and I tell people,
we'll make it easy.
If I'm not very active on Instagram, actually, that's good news, right? It's not that I've gone dark. It's just I'm so busy that I'm oh my God. Too much. And then I'm like, has it been too long? I probably shouldn't share this. It's been too long. High Point. I still haven't shared High Point, friends. Actually, by the time this airs, I promise I will.
Maybe you'll have done it.
Maybe. Jury's out.
Maybe.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. I'm human.
Yeah. Well, thank you for making time for us, because I know it's a big deal to get everybody in one place. So thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And we get to have multiple conversations in a row, which is always lovely. So thank you, Renee.
I love that. Yes, we'll continue this. This has been great.
Fantastic. Well, until next time.
Stay hot, designers. Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.